Before you raise your hand, your brain initiates the movement. Neuroscience has measured the exact delay between your biology acting and your mind catching up. The feeling that you chose to lift your fingers arrives after the machinery is in motion. Your brain acts and then tells your conscious mind a story about being in control. If a cluster of neurons fires before you even know what you want to do, the concept of personal agency starts to look like a biological trick. In 1983, physiologist Benjamin Libet hooked subjects up to scalp electroencephalogram sensors, like this one, and asked them to flex their wrists when they felt the urge. This timeline plots neurological activity against physical movements. The data revealed a surge of activity, a readiness potential, 550 milliseconds before the muscles moved. But when subjects reported the exact moment they consciously decided to move, that timestamp landed just 200 milliseconds before the action. That leaves a 350 millisecond gap. The brain was preparing to act before the person knew what they were going to do. The physical reaction precedes the mental intention. For thinkers like neuroscientist Sam Harris, these milliseconds unravel the entire concept of free will. Harris argues that human beings are essentially biochemical puppets. Our actions are dictated by transcription errors in our DNA, the specific neural pathways developed during childhood, and the exact stimuli in our environment right now. You might feel free to choose coffee over tea this morning, but you didn't choose the specific genetic and environmental history that generated your preference for coffee. You don't author your desires, you simply experience them. If our thoughts emerge from a dark room of unconscious background causes, the concept of holding people responsible for their actions loses its logical grounding. This abstract philosophical problem takes on immediate weight inside a courtroom. Our entire justice system relies on the assumption that a criminal could have chosen to act differently. We dole out retribution, praise, and blame based on the belief that the person on trial was the conscious author of their crime. If determinism is true, punishing a person for a crime is like smashing a broken clock for failing to keep time. Both are simply physical systems obeying the strict laws of cause and effect. But Libet himself did not believe his experiment killed free will. Look at the timeline. The brain unconsciously prepares, but the conscious mind has a 200 millisecond window before moving to actively veto the urge. Furthermore, in 2012, Aaron Scherger demonstrated the famous readiness potential might simply be spontaneous neural noise. Scherger's models suggest the brain is constantly humming with background static. When we are told to make a spontaneous movement without a specific cue, we wait for that noise to randomly cross a certain threshold, which then triggers the action. Under this lens, the 1983 experiment did not capture the brain secretly making a choice in the dark. It captured the physical conditions that allow a conscious intervention to occur. Tracking a decision down to a specific millisecond on an EEG monitor might be the wrong way to evaluate human agency entirely, a point philosopher Immanuel Kant argued 2 centuries ago. Kant proposed that, while our physical bodies are bound by natural causality, our rational minds operate within an intelligible world, governed by logic and reason. You cannot sit down to make a difficult decision while simultaneously believing your choice is already determined. The very act of deliberation forces you to assume you have the capacity to choose. Even if we cannot prove free will under a microscope, we have to adopt it as a necessary postulate. Morality, reasoning, and human society cannot function without treating agency as a reality. Accepting the physical constraints on our behavior does not require a descent into fatalism. Instead, understanding how much of our character is determined by sheer luck can foster a much deeper sense of compassion. You are not a passive passenger trapped inside a biological machine, completely separate from your impulses. The neural noise, the background causes, the sudden conscious medo, that is what you are. You are the storm. We may be tethered to a vast web of biological and environmental strings, but understanding how those strings operate is precisely what allows us to grab hold of them.